Well, welcome everybody to today's Stay Connected webinar, maybe the best 30 minutes of your day today. We are really excited that Joel Bramhall is leading this session on data-driven marketing, and I'm going to talk about the impact of his after-school program on the community of Crete, Nebraska. So I'm going to let him explain a little more about that work, and we really appreciate this unique perspective that you're able to bring us today, Joel. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate this opportunity. I appreciate everyone being here as well. So I'm going to dive right in. As we focus on after school today, I just want to say there are so many incredible things that occur here in Nebraska after school. And so many of them, I think, in the busyness of our lives go unreported. And I believe this is because these items just aren't as tracked as maybe we want them to be, or the stories aren't told. And so what I really want to do today is equip you with some calculations and templates that will allow you to hopefully better track, as well as build some credibility in your program, because so many times we get caught up in the day-to-day and we forget to take a step back and look at all the wonderful things that we're doing. So what I've done in the chat is share my presentation link, so you have access to these templates, as well as to the numbers that I've calculated, as well as infographics. So I went ahead and reshared it as well. And I believe if anyone joins, it's not going to appear in the chat, so I'm going to have to jump back on it and hit copy. So you may see multiple iterations of that. But I will go ahead and dive into my presentation here by sharing my screen. Can everyone see the shared screen here, the Stay Connected conversations? Excellent. So I do believe that our economic impact of after school holds special value for us. I've seen it in my own experience of engaging staff, as well as building partnerships. And so I'm going to walk through today childcare savings statistics, our food savings statistics, how we put those into an infographic. I'm also going to give you a template for each of those, as well as a template for the infographic, and then wrap up today with a little bit of a conversation regarding being a champion and making sure that we're promoting and voicing the power of our after-school program, and give you insight into a few of the things that we do here in Crete for what we call CCLC, or Cardinal Community Learning Centers. All right. So as we begin here, I'm going to start with childcare, and if you have the link, you can follow along. Otherwise, I have it here on the screen. So childcare is obviously a big component of after school. We know, according to America After 3 p.m. study that was conducted in 2020, that 24.6 million children go without after school each year. And of those 24.6 million, these are individuals who want after school programming, but just don't have access to it. There really is an unmet need. And when we see what our programs provide in terms of childcare savings, you can see why. We know childcare is not affordable necessarily in all locations. So here's what I created to better tell our story in regards to childcare. This is a template that creates a calculation, and I'm just going to go through this most recent year that we've completed, which is on column A, row 7, school year 22-23. And I'm going to be extremely conservative in my calculation, as you can see here. We're going to say that this includes only, and I'm going to jump down to row 26 so you can see here, it includes only K through 5 students who earned what we would deem regular attendee status, meaning 30 hours or more. Now, we served a lot more students than that, but we want to be conservative in our calculations and not overshoot. We'd rather undershoot if we're going to try to build credibility and transparency in our program on an infographic that's going to be posted digitally as well as physically and engage with stakeholders. So for us here in Crete, that means elementary and intermediate site programs. So as we jump back up here to column A, rows 9 and 10, I went out to the internet and searched the average per hour cost in Nebraska. There's a few different websites. I tried to take the average of them, and what this came out to in 2022, 2023 was $13.52 an hour for a K through 5 student to be at a childcare facility. Now, we're a completely free program that we're offering to families. And we, of course, we have wait lists because we have to meet the 15 students to one adult staff member and our demographic categories. But for the students who attended, we can see that our program did run for 2.58 hours each day. And the number of days was 161. And our regular attenders, specifically just at the intermediate, was 173. So all we did is just some simple multiplication of our average per hour cost in Nebraska, our program hours, our number of days that we offered programming, and our regular attenders. So we can see for our two sites, intermediate and elementary, we have 971,000 for intermediate and over 1 million for elementary. We add those up. And again, a very conservative number because this is only K-5 students. This is only those that attended 30 hours or more. So we're excluding those who were less than that, even though there were quite a few who were in the high 20s. They didn't meet the threshold. And we're also excluding what we call CCLC summer, our summer programming. And we're not including any students who are above grade 5 that maybe they would require childcare. And a conservative number comes out to over $2 million. We save local families just in childcare because of our programs in school year 22-23. And so I have it broken down by school year. As you can see, the school year 2020, 2021, I have it broken down a little bit further, and here's why. At that time, we were still offering early dismissal day after school care, as well as full day after school care on days where there was parent-teacher conferences or an in-service. We eventually went away from that, and so we only offer programming after every regular school day, and that began in 21-22. So that's where you don't see these additional boxes here. I'm going to pause just for a second to see if there's any questions about this format right here, because then we can go on to the template that I have for you where you could fill in your own if you would like. Everything makes sense so far? All right. I'll go back to sharing here. Okay, so I know for us, one thing that we try to stay away from in what I would call our elevator pitch or how we engage partners and teach our staff to talk about our program is we never mention the word childcare or daycare or babysitting. That is not what we're going to focus on at all. We're going to focus on other items such as enrichment learning opportunities, workforce development for our staff, the idea that students are extending their school day and learning even more. From time to time, we'll talk about how our program is K-12 here in Crete, but at the same time, it's sometimes K-16 in the sense of we're helping build skills for those young university scholars, either from the University of Nebraska, Doane University, or local community colleges who work for us, as well as the high school students. We employ juniors and seniors from the high school as well, that we can help them develop their workforce skills. So those sort of items allow us to build a little bit more credibility and also shift away from the idea of childcare. But I think it is important to mention that word and talk about it in regards to savings, because it helps show that not only are we supporting working families, but we're providing an economic impact in the community as well. So with that, I'll transition to CCLC food. So with after school, snacks as part of the National School Lunch Program, and then there's also USDA Children and Adult Food Program that allows us to serve dinner. What I have done is I've worked closely with our Nutrition Services Director to ensure that we have the appropriate cost of our snack for each day. So as you can see here, we have snack cost in column B and row 7, and we have it by year. For 22-23, it was $1.08. The previous 2 years, it stayed at $1. We track the number of snacks we serve each day, and then we add those up. We report it each month in coherence with the grants, as well as in collaboration with the Nutrition Services Department. So when we add it all up, what we can see just for 22-23 is that by serving nearly 57,000 snacks at $1.08 a piece, we saved families $61,489.80 just in snacks that these students possibly would have went home and dined on. So that's just in snacks. We also look at it in terms of dinner. If we jump down to column B, row 14 for this past year, dinner cost is $4.03. We served nearly 23,000 dinners. Simple multiplication gives us the 91,920 number. So you add up your snack and dinner, and you can see that just in the last school year here in column D, row 20, we have $153,410 that we saved local families just in food costs. When we think about our motto, which is supervised, safe, and fed with profound enrichment, I think this definitely gives that some additional credibility as well. We also, again, are conservative in our numbers as we look at row 26. In these numbers, we've excluded CCLC summer programming. We've excluded the backpack program that we contribute to, as well as family engagement events or any special offerings where we would have food. We don't include that in the cost. It's just making sure that, again, we're being transparent and using conservative numbers as we tell our story. I've also provided you with a template for food. So I've simplified it just a bit. So you could just enter one school year, put your snack cost, your snacks served, and then the multiplication is already set up for you, as well as the total up here is going to add your snack and your dinner. I'm going to pause here. Is there any questions, comments over childcare savings or food?
Joel, do you want me to put the link back in the chat for those that joined after you posted it?
Yes, I did it right now.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So hopefully these two templates are going to give you access and better tell your story. I know for us, access is an important word, especially when we're doing registration at the beginning of each school year. We know nationwide there is a lack of access to after school. For every one child that is in after school, there's 3 that are unable to access it. I think that's important statistic for us to know and for us to value, especially as we look at our infographics and the impact we have. So if you click on the tab infographic.
Joel, I'm sorry, Joel. Can I go back to a question on the food template?
Yes.
Sorry. I either wasn't listening or I didn't understand. So when you do the snack cost, how do you break that down by your free, reduced, and paid students? What numbers did you use there? Just the actual snack cost, whether they were free or reduced, how many snacks served, is that what you used?
Yeah, number of snacks served. So we didn't.
So if they're free or reduced, you didn't break it down. You just said snacks served, even though it's like if families were paid students, they paid for the snack.
Okay, so you bring up a good point, and I wish I would have clarified this. So our program does not charge any fees at all.
Right.
There's no charge.
Ours don't either, but they do get charged for their snack if they're not free. They get charged the free reduced rate, or they have to do a paid rate. So you don't charge anything for snack at all, just like we did during COVID.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So these are just snacks that were served.
And then you don't charge for their dinner. That's all dinner either.
Correct. We do not serve for dinner.
What is your free and reduced rate at your schools?
I want to say overall as a district, I believe it's above 60%. We have a few schools that are around 58 and 56.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That explains that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. That's a good question. I wish I would have clarified that a little bit more, but thank you. So as we think about putting that together, what I was able to do is work with Nebraska Children's and Families Foundation, and over the years of working with them, as well as just trying to find a way to better tell our story, we were able to develop an infographic. And so being in Crete, we wanted to make sure that we're not only reaching our English-speaking population, but also our Spanish-speaking population. Here in Crete, we have 58% of our students who go home and speak a language other than English. Spanish being the most. Korean is a growing segment of our population as well. So we're gradually trying to make sure we're multilingual in how we communicate. But these infographics, you see the English one on the left and the Spanish one on the right. What it's doing is it's going to plug in a lot of the information we had just discussed, which specifically talks about childcare. So we see childcare right here. It says during school year 22-23, CCLC saved K through 5 regular attending families a combined, and then we have our amount, the over $2 million amount. We also have our meals here, where it talks about the number of snacks and dinners that were provided. And then, of course, tracking of our attendance. Not only do we have our total attendance, but then what we averaged on any given day. We've also outlined on our infographic our vision, our mission. Of course, numbers are powerful, but so are the stories. Always want to make sure we tell a little bit of a story anytime we have our numbers. So we got a nice quote here from a site coordinator. Sometimes other years we've had it from parents or other various stakeholders. Also on our infographic, always want to feature the students as well as any partners we have. So here is a partner who's teaching coding. Cardinal Community Learning Centers, we have our logo, and then just a nice little summary of who we are in 3 lines. For me, in my experience of trying to influence community supporters, business leaders, and specifically policymakers, what really tends to move the needle for them is the workforce development and the support that we give to working families. So that's why I include in there that we have a trained staff of 5 full-time employees as well as 103 part-time employees. Now, not everybody's working every day. We know students at the university level as well as high school have many commitments. They may only be able to work Tuesdays and Thursdays for an hour and a half each day. Maybe they can't even work an entire season. But in terms of a full active roster, that's the number we have. And with that comes trainings such as CPR certifications, all of your safe schools training, quarterly meetings, daily and professional interventions and discussions. So there is a lot of support that's going to happen as a workforce leader as well. So we highlight that. We also highlight that our program's unique and that we have secured and continue to work to have enough supplemental and foundational funding through 21st Century and all the wonderful partner networks that we have to keep our program free of charge. And then, of course, our 3 little items here, supervised, safe, and fed, and what those mean to us as they're part of our vision. And this gives a nice little encapsulation of what our program is. It's the basis of our elevator speech that hopefully if you come across anyone who works in CCLC, anyone who's closely associated with it, in their mind, they're referencing these items to help tell their story and tell our story of CCLC. I think it's a powerful tool. We've seen it empower staff. Sometimes I think we really get focused on what's happening day to day. And when we can take a step back and look at these numbers, be able to tell others and communicate clearly and convey to others just the value and influence that our program has in the community, it's only going to encourage additional discovery and support, I believe. I read a study recently, and I think it was from a midterm election survey that they conducted in last year in 2023. And it had an outstanding number because Americans today are so divided, it seems like, on every issue. But one issue that had a high number was the issue regarding out-of-school time programming. And what it said was 81% of voters deemed after school, and this was the quote, absolutely necessary, or an absolute necessity. And I think that's so true. When you see after school in person, when you start seeing these numbers, it should facilitate or compel someone to want to learn more and get involved. So we have the infographics here. What I have done is I've provided a template of the infographic. It's very basic. Every year ours looks a little bit different. We've tried a few different formats, but I have linked it here. It should be open to everybody. If not, you can drop an item in the chat. I'll stay on later and make sure you have access, or I can email it to you. but I'm not an expert on Canva, but I've tried to make sure that it's open for public view. So this is the Canva link to the template of this infographic. So I'm going to zoom in here on this last one, and hopefully all of you have it as well, which is be a champion. For us, championing our program is very important, and we fall under the belief that if you don't tell them, they simply will not know. And with that, we do a few things. So in addition to our infographics that we release every year and allows us to build that credibility and have transparency, we're also required to have our site level management meetings every quarter. So we have 4 site programs. That means we have 4 site level management meetings every quarter. We have 16 throughout the course of a school year. And what we do is we invite a representative from as many stakeholder groups as possible to attend each of these quarterly meetings. If it be partners, if it just be the outside supporters, those who aren't listed in the grant, school day teachers, staff, families, it's nice to have at least one representative from 2 or 3, maybe even more of those stakeholder groups when we come together, when we bring the principal and the site coordinator, myself, a representative from the finance department, all together to talk about input, feedback. Not only does it give them some stake and ownership in our program, but it really allows that site coordinator to think about how far they've come, what they've done, and showcase their program for that quarter. If it's family engagement events, if it's numbers, if it's stories of kids who are so enthralled and so embracing the program that they don't want to go home come 6 o'clock, those are all great stories to share. So site level management meetings allow us to do that. A few other things we do is we have our webpage. We provide the very basics on our webpage, how CCLC is funded, how it's sustained, and what it is. In addition to just those basics, we also have online registration and details as we have rolling registration throughout the school year. Another way we tell our story, well, a big way we tell our story is social media. We got a handle secured that's Cardinal Centers. I wish we could do Cardinal Community Learning Centers, but that's a lot to type in and advertise. So we just condensed it down to @Cardinal Centers. I would highly suggest that if you are looking to engage parents or stakeholders through social media, that you check out Facebook. Twitter has been successful here and there for us, or X as it's now known. Instagram, we discontinued when I arrived because I felt like it was a little more informal, and we want to keep our credibility high. And there's some other platforms out there, but Facebook seems to be the best for reaching the demographic we want to connect with. And I made a note over here that boost your posts. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money, maybe $10, $15 per post. And when you boost them, you get to pick the radius upon geographically you want that post to appear more often. There's been times where we have large scale family engagement events and we have a little bit extra funds that maybe we'll spend $75 or $100 on a post to really get that message out on Facebook as much as possible. I would strongly encourage you considering it. Our return on investment on that has been high. Also, in terms of championing your program, for us, we've had 3 different promotional videos since I've been here. We had an English version in 2021, which I've linked, and then an English and Spanish more recently that we've produced. We commissioned those after taking bids. We commissioned them through Idea Bank. And it just gives another layer to what we do. They come out, they grab videos, they grab still frames, get interviews from different stakeholder representatives as well. And it just allows for us to learn about our program, especially when you hear parents or teachers talk about how it has a direct influence on their day-to-day life and maybe ways you hadn't thought of. So I'd highly encourage you to watch those videos, as we even learned as we went through that process. And then those videos are also great to play on the big screen or on a projector when you have a family engagement event. You put it up there, you hit loop, and you just let them go. Last few items here in terms of championing your program, especially the economic impact, is professional brochures, which I have provided copies down here and to the right. Recently, we've had a Spanish and an English version. So I gave you the Spanish front and back, and then the English inside. And with that, we have wonderful photos, as well as you can see, we make sure we have by the numbers in there as well to talk about how we're living our mission each day. And here's how we're doing it, not only in the qualitative, but the quantitative as well. You can look through those, and I can share those as well afterwards if you're interested in looking at them in more detail, if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, Champions Club is a new club that we're launching. Champions Club is not a programming club. It's essentially our community advisory team. We think of championing. We're trying to build a coalition of members who are advocates for our program. So many times after school, I think what happens is we get overlooked. People don't know everything about us, and so they make assumptions. We need to be out there telling our story, advocating for it, having those people who are promoting it out there for us. And so that's what Champions Club allows us to do. We come together at least once a quarter. We have an email list. They're the first ones on social media who are going to be hitting like and share for our posts. It's good to have that group and continually build and mold that group as well. And then lastly, what we have here is partner luncheons. Each quarter, we hold a partner luncheon. We've approached it, I think, every time just a little bit different, inviting multiple partners each time. We find a local restaurant in town. We try to grow our relationships and showcase our program. One thing that we found is doing the oversized posters or thank you cards goes a long ways, and our partners are always so proud to display them. So we take photos before they leave. And if we have any prospective partners that we're trying to build a relationship with, it's a good opportunity to invite them to these luncheons so they can talk to other community members about the success that they've experienced. Because if we're going to ask them for their time, talent, or treasure, or all three, at one point, they need to know what they're quote unquote investing in. So it just gives us a good foundation to be able to tell our story. And at that, I am going to stop the sharing and see if there's any questions or discussion. Also add to the chat that we have the link there in case if anybody came in late. If there's anything that's unclear, or if you would like those documents shared with you, I can do that. You can just send me an email. It's joel.bramhall@creteschools.org, or you could reach out to Kim. Kim, you said you were going to post some of those documents as well. Is that right?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I could just post this link and then people can get on there and see your work and access the templates that way. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's very comprehensive. You've generously shared all kinds of resources with folks so they can learn from you and create their own as well. Gosh, you've really covered every aspect of a high quality program, really, in what you've chosen to articulate and share, and we appreciate learning from you.
Thank you. I appreciate the support.
Joel, what's your K-12 student population?
K-12 for the district is 2,400.
Okay.
For CCLC K-12, we end up with just over 1,400.
Excellent.
Joel, I just want to compliment you too. You've really done great things there with the program in Crete, and really we do appreciate your generosity in sharing these resources with the others. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Jan.
Are there other questions for Joel, or?
And you have these recorded, right, Kim? You have these recorded and posted for people? Okay, good. Thank you.
Do you mind putting your email in the chat, and then we can make sure people see that as part of the recording too, if they want to get in touch or let one of us know that's on this webinar. We probably all know how to reach Joel.
It's now in the chat.
If people can just take a little bit away from this and as a place to start, I think you've really shared some very useful information. So thank you. And we appreciate all of you joining today also and the work you do. Our next webinar is March 7th and at noon, and Michael Thibertson is going to talk about how you can prepare for the upcoming solar eclipse. So we're really excited about that. Michael was involved in our Nebraska Blast Grant years ago, and he is an expert in astronomy and started the Branched Oak Observatory, has taught at UNL, teaches at Southeast Community College. So he's a wealth of information and a great presenter. So please join us. Lorna, you can attest to that, right? You did a lot.
Michael and I have had some very good times together. I'm just looking at the high altitude balloon sticker from when we launched the high altitude balloon and had to go recover the payload. Yeah. And out in the Alliance somewhere. It was so much. You
sunk into the sandhills together, right? Searching for a high altitude balloon.
We had some interesting adventures together. Yes, I would have to say.
Well, it's going to be fun to reconnect with him. So thanks again, Joel. Thanks to all of you. It's nice seeing you today. And we'll see you again on March 7th at noon, Central Time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.